Chapter 2, Mishnah 7. It is forbidden to have any kind of benefit from an animal that was slaughtered by a Jew or non-Jew as an offering to an idol. Our Mishnah considers a case in which an animal was owned by a non-Jew who worships idols, but he asked a Jew to slaughter it for him. If a Jew slaughters an animal on behalf of a non-Jew who worships idols, his shechita is valid, i.e. the animal is permitted to Jews, because we do not suspect that he wanted the animal to be slaughtered as an idolatrous sacrifice. But Rabbi Eliezer rules that shechita is invalid, i.e. the animal is forbidden to Jews. Since the non-Jew was an idolater, he presumably wanted the animal to be slaughtered for idolatry. Therefore, Jews are prohibited to have any benefit from it. Rabbi Eliezer extends his ruling to a case in which the animal was owned by a Jew except for its diaphragm, which belonged to an idolater. Rabbi Eliezer said further, even if the Jew slaughtered it so that the idolatrous non-Jew would be able to eat from its diaphragm, which belongs to the idolater, and the Jew would eat the rest of the animal, which belongs to him, the shechita is invalid, because the presumed intent of the idolatrous non-Jew is for idolatry. Even though the idolater only owns a small part of the animal, we suspect that he wanted that part to be sacrificed to an idol, which makes the shechita invalid, and no part of the animal may be eaten. The previous Tanaim disagree whether or not we suspect that the non-Jew had idolatrous intent. However, they would agree that if he did have such intent, he makes the animal forbidden, even though someone else slaughtered it for him. The next Tana, though, holds that the owner's idolatrous intent does not affect the animal unless he slaughters it himself. Rabbi Yossi said, a Kal V'chomer proves the matter as follows. Since, in the case of korbanos, where improper intent, such as intent to eat the meat after the permitted time, during any of the 4 blood services invalidates the korban, and yet everything depends entirely on the intent of the one who does the service, and not the owner of the korban, then in the case of ordinary animals, where improper intent is less powerful, as is evident from the fact that improper intent does not invalidate except during 2 of the services, thus everything should certainly depend entirely on the intent of the slaughterer, and not on that of the owner of the animal. Rabbi Yossi argues that it is easier to invalidate a korban with pigul intent than to invalidate an ordinary animal with idolatrous intent. This can be seen from the fact that pigul intent is effective during any of the 4 services: slaughtering, receiving the blood, carrying the blood, throwing the blood. But idolatrous intent is effective during only 2 of the services: slaughtering, throwing the blood. Nevertheless, although it is easier to invalidate a korban with pigul intent, only the Kohen who is offering the korban and not its owner has the power to do so. It is logical then that only the person slaughtering an ordinary animal and not its owner has the power to invalidate it with idolatrous intent. Thus, if the owner of an ordinary animal has idolatrous intent, but the slaughterer did not, the animal is permitted.